You know, we're at Xtemporize podcast number 22, I believe this is. 22, and I'm super excited to see you. And I'm not going to say the guest name at the moment, but I'm super excited to be sitting across from this megastar. He told me I would be a good candidate to be his manager.
Oh.
I am this guy's. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
So you talk him up. You see him in the light that he truly is.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I hear you.
And you know what? I'm going to make you feel really bad because last concert he performed at, and you weren't there, and you missed it.
It's like the first one I missed in a very, very long time.
Okay, so I don't want to make you feel bad. But will you tell everybody who's listening or watching who this incredible person is, what his name is?
Yeah, we're here with Brian Andres, right? Am I saying your last name correct?
The one and only.
Yeah.
Incredible Bay Area drummer, and you're not just limited to the Bay. I mean, you perform all over the place. What's happening, Brian? How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you here. This dude rolls up in style.
In a Ducati,
In a Ducati motorcycle. You know, I thought, because I see you on this bike and you're taking bike trips all the time, and you're doing that between that and the cats and everything, man. You're just living the life. I thought that was kind of like something you just didn't, but you're all in.
I'm all in with motorcycles, yeah.
Do you have a car or do you just do bikes?
Fortunately, I have to have a car. It's the only way I can get my drums to engage.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Good point.
I would,
duh.
bail on a car in a second if I was a trumpet player or something.
Oh, really?
Would you really? Yeah.
Since we're storytelling, I'll just tell you a quick story.
Please.
The motorcycling came late in my life. If you had known me before I was, let's say, 34, I guess I was, I would have told you that they were horribly dangerous and that I would never get. I'd been on one. A friend of mine when I was like 19, he took me around and rode on the back of that for like an hour. And then my brother had one, never rode on it. He sold his after a couple of years. He had a scary thing happen to him on one. But this is a true story. I woke up one day in November in 2004. The day before, I had no interest in being on a motorcycle. No interest at all. I woke up the next day and I had an undeniable urge to buy a motorcycle.
Huh.
So just that day you woke up and you said, "Oh my God, I want a motorcycle."
It was like somebody made us turn a switch on.
Well, I do know that experience, but go ahead. Yeah, I want to hear yours.
Yeah. So,
but not with a motorcycle.
I looked into how do you go about getting a bike and what bikes were available and how do I get a license and all that. It took a couple months, but in January, 2 months later, I was taking what they call the Motorcycle Safety Foundation Basic Riders course, which is where they basically give you, all the basic riding skills that you need. And that was a 3-day thing, Thursday night class, Saturday, Sunday on the course. And before I'd even completed that, I had gone to the dealer and bought a Yamaha sport bike. And
Was that on the heels of a dream or something? Did you have a dream? I mean,
completely out of. I have no idea. No,
like people, it was almost like given to you. Like the idea was.
Yeah, people that knew me were like, "Nah." They thought I was kidding.
Yeah.
They thought I was kidding.
But I want you to pick up where you left. But I find this fascinating, Raine, because I have 2 sons. Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay, you may have met him before.
Yeah, I did.
He no, I know you have. I'm not sure Brian has met.
Okay.
But we just went through the same thing. He got a Harley. He went through that same course. This is only a few months ago.
Right.
He just recently got insurance. It's in a garage someplace. He's rode it all like 3 times or something. He's waiting for the better weather and stuff. But me being dad, so I'm honed in on your story here. So
it was
carry on.
It took me. I went. The dealership was literally a mile away from my apartment, and so I rode. Had a friend drop me off, and then I rode the thing back. And there's a parking lot next to my building. It's a church parking lot. And for 3 weeks, I just stayed in that parking lot and practiced all the things I learned in the course, figure eights and stuff. And I was just like, what am I doing? I was really no greater understanding of what I was doing, but it was just like I never felt that immense desire to like. I don't know. There's no words for it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it reminds me of the back of your book that I just read. Not The State of Isabel.
Oh, the Soul Driver.
The Soul Driver one, where you are talking about a story about we don't always understand.
Yeah, you feel compelled.
We don't always understand what happens there, or why we are driven, or we have this incredible urge to do that.
I have hindsight now. I understand. It basically. I met all these people that, because I grew up with musicians. My parents were musicians. I grew up in a musician's household. We hung out with musicians. They hung out with musicians. I started my career when I was 19. That's all I knew was art people. And all of a sudden I start riding a motorcycle. And I start meeting all of these other people. And they don't know anything about being a musician, but they're like IT people or they're mechanics or they sell insurance. Whatever it is they do, but it had nothing to do with any of the people that I was hanging out with before. And also, I realized that I had gotten to a point where, my career was like maybe 25 years at that point, and I was kind of burnt out. I had no other hobbies. I had no other interests outside of just music. That was it. And so, all of a sudden, I had this entirely new life.
Yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, different world. And it exposed me to really cool people and really cool things. And it gave me an outlet to like, nerd out on something completely different.
Right.
That up until I was, the age of 34, I'd never had. It was just, I was so singularly minded.
Locked in.
About being a drummer and being a musician and that career and all that.
So what advice would you give to me as a parent of a son that's going to be driving around on a motorcycle where the inherent thing or the normal thing a parent would do would be to worry?
Yeah.
Right? And then what I tell them, and I tell him, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, you can educate me here, but I'm always like, hey, you may drive perfectly, but it's the other guy.
Oh, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, the advice is that is to give to him to understand that the danger comes from other people. It doesn't come from his skill or lack of it. Although, he should definitely continue to, literally work on a skill. I just took a couple weeks ago, I took an SFPD motorcycle police course that they teach out on Treasure Island, and it was just fundamentals, going over the fundamentals of, basic skills that
like defense and offense, right? Like being able to anticipate what someone else may do. Yeah, as a bike rider.
Yeah. It was emergency stopping. It was. Can you get yourself out of a tight spot? Can you control the bike at a really low speed? We did in that course. They did slow races, so the slowest one won. And those guys, I don't know if most people know, but police officer, motorcycle cops are across the world. Super highly skilled.
Wow. I did not know that. That's good information. Yeah.
Really, if they're a motorcycle cop. You know how to ride a bike. And I'm not talking about like blazingly fast, right? That's a different skill set. I'm talking about being able to move that motorcycle around, But as a parent, I would say that you have to trust that your boy's going to make the right decisions for himself.
Right.
Which for me, the right decisions is making sure I wear the right gear, always wear a full-faced helmet, You know, there's lots of things you can
And
do.
I would imagine not be overly aggressive, right, and impatient.
Well.
Oh, wait a minute, no, it's not.
Yeah, there's sometimes when you have to be like
assertive,
really
okay.
aggressive.
Well, maybe let me rephrase that. Reckless.
Oh yeah,
There's probably a difference between getting out of a jam or having to be aggressive and being reckless, right?
Reckless is definitely a bad.
I was seeing a guy the other day, and we're here to talk music, but we talk about other things in life.
Of course we do.
Talk about family, we talk about whatever. But there was a guy, I was on the highway the freeway the other day, and he must have been going 100 something, but not going just one lane to the next. He went
on a bike
all the way over, but he was like for fun. He would go. It was in traffic, and then all the way back over. And almost like he was trying to exhibit for other people or something. I don't know what it was.
When you first
he was listening to a good song or something.
When you first get a motorcycle, just going fast in a straight line is exhilarating, right? It just it's like it's hard to describe for people who have never done it. But you're just you look down and you see that speedometer is 100 something, right? But eventually, going fast in a straight line gets pretty boring,
right?
Because it's like it's just a straight line.
You've done it,
yeah. And if you've gone like on a track with a sport bike and you're really finding out what those machines are capable of, the straight lines are not the fun part. The fun part are the curves. And I see lights in the back of my my rear mirror, So I'm like, oh man, this is bad. This is at that speed they can take you.
You can get 2 tickets.
They can take you to jail.
They can take you to jail, reckless driving, and pound your bike. I mean, it's bad.
They get mad.
And so I was prepared for the worst. I pulled over, and it was a young highway patrolman, and thank God that this guy was as cool as he was, but. I pulled over, and basically he's like, he goes, "Hey, you know how fast you were going?" I was like, "Yeah, I was going a little over 100." He goes, "Yeah, that's too fast, man." And I said to him, and this is true, I said, "Well, I had just gone skydiving maybe a month prior to this," and I said, and I was just trying to relive that excitement, that
rush,
adrenaline rush, And by now he's got my license, and I gave him all my paperwork, and he goes, I get that. He kind of laughed. He says, I get that. I love the adrenaline rush of a good chase. And so I said, well, give me my license back, and I'll take off on you. Right?
That's hilarious.
He thought that was he did. He thought that was hilarious, right? So then we just started talking, and it was just two guys, hanging out, and so he wrote me a ticket. For 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then he said, go to court and contest this. I'm transferring out to the valley, and I won't be there.
Oh, okay. Wow. So why did he even write it then?
Because he'd already pulled me over. I'm sure it was.
And it's on record.
Yeah.
Got it.
So Officer Martinez, if you hear this, I believe that's what his name was. This is a long time ago, but yeah.
Well, kudos for you for the quick thinking of being funny.
Well,
because that was good.
For him being open to it, because sometimes they're not, they're just. But he was cool, and I was like able to ride home.
Yeah.
And I was not the last time I ever went super fast on the bike, but you do eventually kind of grow out of that.
Right.
You don't want to go fast.
So. Well, I just want to say thanks for everything. Let's kind of transition a little bit more into your greatness as far as being the drummer that you are, and I want to thank
boring
you.
Stuff.
But it's what's fun about what Raine and I are doing is I've known you for a while now, a number of years, and like all the other musicians, we become friends, but it's just kind of on the surface a little bit more. It's just the small talk, if you will, before and after the show. We're busy, got things going on. We never really get a chance to get to know people, and I would have never known that you were a master storyteller and were able to work with a ticket and all that, and I didn't know how into motorcycles you were, so that's great. But I want to thank you for what you do for the Bay Area music scene, not just for yourself, but I know all the people that come to our shows that used to go to the Impulse Room, they love you as a drummer, as a person, as a performer. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for being engaged with the Impulse Room. Thank you for being involved with the Backyard Improv. You've been to a number of them, and it's a treat every time you come.
I wouldn't do it if it wasn't a treat for me.
Oh, that's a good deal. Yeah. And I don't want to make her feel too bad, but you were just in the last two of them, and you were very gracious. You came and last minute for this last show, and that last show was.
Yeah.
I don't know, I really enjoyed it.
You know, I get there's moments in all of them. You know, but yeah, you know, it's sometimes you get moments where it's like, you know, just everything clicks and everybody's on the same wavelength. And
do you have one that stands out more than another?
I do. Yeah, I do. It was the one in the warehouse. And it was Scott Martin and Raine.
And Ryan Price.
Yeah, I can't remember who else was
there. And Evan Thomas on guitar.
Evan Thomas. And Faith came out and sang a bit. And that was the first time I met her. So, yeah, that was really, you know.
Well, actually, that was a different. I think Faith came out where there was Kid Funk and whatnot.
Was it?
Yeah, so that was two different ones.
Okay, yeah.
But
I
both
great.
great.
That was the first time the vocals had been involved for me.
Yes, right.
So I remember Faith coming out. So, yeah, maybe it was a different one. But, yeah. Sometimes you know, I mean, I knew Scott. I played with Scott before, and
Scott Martin's a sax player for the group War.
Okay.
Yeah, he currently
played with Poncho Sanchez. Yeah, he's a great player, and so it was nice to be able to kind of just understand each other already, and then. You know, Evan was great on the guitar, and then Ryan. That was the first time I met him, and he just brought fire. You know. Yeah. So that was good. Not to say that I didn't enjoy the other ones, because there's, like I said, there's always moments, but that one was like moment after moment after moment. So that was really, really good. And that spot was great.
Oh, it was wonderful.
It was a great spot.
I miss it.
Yeah, I do too. Although I love the backyard stuff.
I do as well, man.
You know,
just I mean, the show that you played before that you were at, which you probably have a couple questions of where you met. Or you played with Kid Funk and Jinx Jones and Mike Mendoza. I think that's your first time playing with Mike on sax.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a great show as well. I mean, you and Jinx jive really well. Yeah. Yeah,
I love that backyard too. That's
a cool backyard for sure. I wish I had that. Yeah, I wish I owned that house.
That's just a nice spot.
But that was the concert where at the very.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, at the very end, like I think it was close to the last song. You might have done one after, and you kind of tagged Brian on a solo, kind of, and you were like, "Oh, something with a Latin flair," and then he breaks out with it. And I know nothing about Brian at that point. Yeah, I don't know that he's a Latin drummer. You know that he has that background and that propensity. Yeah. So I'm like. What? Yeah. I'm like, you waited until the end.
They all gave me a reaction to shit. A lot of people did.
And I'm like, oh my God, we could have been dancing.
Yeah. You know, this has become an ongoing thing, right? You know, just in that, see.
I'm like, what the hell? He sounds like he's got his own band, right? On the drums, you know? Everything else.
Let me ask you a question. You're highly regarded as I don't like saying this though, but you know, you're one of the top Latin drummers. Okay.
I'm one of a few that can,
okay.
There's a handful of guys.
But you're so much more than that to me.
Well, yeah, because he fuses so many different sounds.
Personally, you probably don't care, but I don't like defining you as such.
And genres kind of suck sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, it's always nice to this is a specialty, let's do it. But you know, I'm not showing up for these things wanting to do that. I'm happy to do like Saturday when we did the little country jazz show.
That was funny.
That's a great groove. I love that. You know,
that was funny. So, I don't even know how that came to be. Again, I'm sorry we're talking about
it,
but it was funny, dude. Because I don't know. I have another question for you. But what's funny? So it's the end of the thing. I'm painting a picture for Raine. So it's the end of the show, and I don't know what I said, but Jason Stewart then said something to me, and it made me ask for a country jazz song, not knowing that was actually an official thing. I thought I'm throwing him for a loop. And Brian's just like, yeah, shit, no problem. Country jazz, sure. I got it covered. And what's funny is Noel Couture, who was on saxophone there, the first few notes, I don't know if you're old enough for this or not, but the first few notes, I swear I was watching a Benny Hill.
Really?
I expect you to see running across the lawn. If anybody knows the old Benny Hill show or something like that. Yeah. So that's actually a thing.
Yeah. Western swing, it's a big thing. I mean, if you know, we never used to watch it because my mother hated country music, but but what was that show on?
Oh, I know. Hee Haw?
Hee Haw, was it Hee Haw? They had all the music. Yeah,
Yeah, and they pop up in the corn.
Yeah, it was like this skit-based show, but they had music on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were lots of really great...
With banjos and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of really great stuff there. And you can catch all that on YouTube. They put it up, and there's a lot of great... If you listen to early country music, it almost all had swing to it.
Yeah.
You know? It was always had a swing to it. So... Yeah, you guys have a totally different style.
Yeah, that's a whole different deal,
I don't
right?
do that. Although I admire some of them greatly. But otherwise, you top 40 and jazz and blues and funk and R&B and hip hop. You have to make a living. You really have to be able to do a lot of different things. So when somebody calls me for a gig, I can say yes as opposed to saying no.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So versatility.
Yeah, and so that when we show up. When we all show up to Peter's gigs, it's like just wait for the
wait for the
thing to happen.
Wait to see who shows up to play with.
That's
us.
the fun part.
We've done 50 something of these, and then all the ones in the clubs too.
What?
He's
done 50 of them?
Oh no, you have.
Oh,
I haven't.
You've done. Yeah.
I was like,
I've been on.
What were you about to say?
Just how amazing it is. I mean, you should. It's not easy to cultivate an audience.
Yeah.
And you have done an outstanding job.
Thank you, brother. And you know what? I got to give him a little extra love. And I know you got a bunch of questions, so I'm not trying to hog the thing.
I'm like, hurry up. No,
but I'll tell you, there was one show, and it ended up, ironically, being one of my favorite ones. We were in Lafayette, and you weren't playing at the show. Okay. You know what I'm going to say now. Well, no, I'm sorry, it was in Walnut Creek, but we were doing a show and it had a great one. It had Simon Smith on there on guitar and Chris Ruiz on drums and Farida Nelson was bass. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of the few times, well, now it's gotten much more like this, including the last show, where everybody got up and danced. I mean, literally, there was everybody, and if they didn't physically get up because they were too old or something, they sat in their chair and they were moving their arms and stuff like that. But there was somebody who was, without getting into too much detail, there was somebody who was watching it online who actually, it was the only person I could ever remember having some negative thoughts about it. They said something like, this isn't jazz and this, that, and the other thing and whatnot. And, not without mentioning names or anything like that, the reason I bring up this story is, obviously I took a little offense to it, so I ended up creating the song that said something, nothing mean, but it countered that, okay, like that. But Brian saw that, and he came back, and I forget the exact words he said, but it was very nice, and it stood out to me where he's like, dude, don't hate, and it turned out, I didn't know this, and I don't know if I told you this, but it was a guitarist who I'd never met before and came to the show here. And I guess as a result of coming to one of the shows, was upset that I didn't get back with them. But I didn't know to get back to them because they never talked to me or anything, and I didn't know until after the fact. So anyway, thank you for that. Thanks for coming.
Man. To the back. I remember it was just some silliness. It was some unnecessary things, man.
Well,
you mean on Facebook?
Yeah, they were saying something like this isn't true jazz, but yet everybody was having so much fun. It was it was a blast.
I see.
But go ahead, we can.
No, it's cool. I mean, that's a long-standing conversation about what is true jazz, what isn't.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's like, who gets to say that? Jazz is just foundational.
It's such a boring conversation.
Yeah, it really is. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, you know what's funny is that, and I'm glad you brought this up, Raine, because what constitutes jazz? Yeah. Well, if you were to look up in the dictionary and you look for a definition of it, we know it's the free-flowing spirit of things. It's the creating on the spot, and then basically there's other things, but that's more or less the definition of jazz, the unstructured nature of it with allowing you to go in different directions. Right. And of course, it's rooted in a lot of African-type roots and things like that where it came from. But there's smooth jazz. There's jazz that incorporates funk. And so this umbrella of jazz, what does it mean, like you say?
Yeah. At this point,
right? So
it's a fusion of music.
It's the people that really enjoy coming to our shows is the ones that are just open to just great music.
Yeah.
They just want to hear music.
Yeah. They want to hear music, but they want to hear great music because this whole thing is very theatrical. And that's why I tell people this all the time. When somebody knows that Brian's never met Kid before, has never met, Jason or whatever.
Yeah.
These relationships are new.
Yeah.
Right? I love watching you and what it is you do with the drums to work with the other guys. Whether it's from an audio standpoint, a visual cue, or whatever it is, but that harmony, that relationship you make on the spot, that's an incredible talent you got. I mean, how do you go into it and make it look so effortless?
It is effortless if you've experienced, right? You're on a bandstand and you just learn how to read people and have expectations of, okay, this is a natural way for the song to end, or it could be a rhythm that we all catch. It could be just slowing the song down. It could be just dropping out. But you gain all of that experience on a bandstand, just playing gig after gig after gig. You don't have anybody. You don't call anybody for these gigs that are like spring chickens.
Right.
You're calling guys that are playing music for a long time, and so there's just these unspoken things that we all just.
Well, the fact
learn.
that you can pick up on them is, I find it impressive.
It's a skill. It's a skill that you have to be doing gigs to kind of learn that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no class in school.
Right.
You just got to do it.
Learn on the fly, like your motorcycle riding.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I know you got some stuff down.
Well, let me do a real quick.
Yeah.
We're talking about music. I had an experience just last weekend that was really cool. That kind of is related to this. So I was playing a jazz trio gig in Half Moon Bay last weekend, and I made a joke.
The box.
No, it's just a
Okay.
little spot in Main Street called Cafe Society.
Okay.
It's just this little coffee shop,
It's adorable.
And I love playing there because it's Friday night only, and they bring a great crowd. So we're playing, and I made a joke about, hey, if you have everybody has a shtick, right? So my shtick is, hey, if you have a request, write it down on $100 bill, and we'll take it, right?
I don't know how funny it was.
So
He's from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
this kid
They have
comes
that
up,
kind of humor.
and I say kid, but he was probably 20, 21, and he's like, "Oh, I don't have 100, but will a 20 do?" And I'm like, yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? And he's like, "Do you guys know Sweet Dreams?" Sweet Dreams, and we're thinking it's jazz standard Sweet Dreams. No, nobody, I don't know that one. And he plays, yeah, exactly. He plays the tune, and it's the Eurythmics,
Right.
which is a cool pop song,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
But we had not been playing any pop. We were just playing straight jazz standards, and he wasn't being a jerk. He just was listening to music. He wasn't categorizing anything, and he was just like, "Hey, maybe they can do
Sweet Dreams this way. Yeah,
tune,
these guys are
right?
great. Yeah, let me hear
And
Sweet
I
Dreams.
would have totally played it, but one of the guys didn't really know it. But I love that attitude.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
It's just,
Thank you for that.
Oh, that's a good story.
without
It
these-
really is.
Yeah.
And if we all thought like that,
Yeah.
man,
Oh, amen.
Because man, your
Go ahead.
rhythms,
Preach, bro.
they're
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
music right there. Yeah, that's very cool.
I think it was Ellington or Basie said there's only two kinds of music,
Yeah.
good or bad.
Exactly.
And we all get to decide that for ourselves.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So
And even
Yeah.
I'm making little cues to him here where I'm looking this way. He knows what
Oh.
that so, good. I love it, man. I love it. It's that relationship, man. Like I said, we're going to pretend there's
you have
somebody
to
over
be in
there.
the improv.
Yeah, so I can
Looking at
get,
the ghost.
so it's
Yeah.
not just the side of your ear and the back of your head all show long. So.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Brian, I usually ask about like how you became interested in music and so on and so forth, but I'm not going to start there. I want to start you had mentioned that at one point in your life when you got your motorcycle, that you were kind of burnt out on you grew up with musical family and you've been a musician since you were 19 years old and performer. Probably had all this skill and talent behind you, a lot of playing, and you needed a new scene, really. You needed to expand in a different direction to probably keep those creative juices going in many ways.
Yeah.
So how did that affect your music? Did it? Yeah. So tell me about that.
Well, when I get on a motorcycle, I don't do anything but think about riding the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And so it freed my mind up.
Yeah, there you
Right?
go.
Because, a lot of people don't understand the way musicians will walk through life if we're in a Target, right, and you're hearing music, we can't not hear that music.
Yeah.
It's
That's
the first
true.
thing that
That's
we
true.
hear,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go away. We don't. We can't not listen to the
Uh-huh.
music in a restaurant or in a coffee shop, right? And I know a lot of people when they first hear a song, instinctively non-musicians will just listen to the lyrics. That's the last thing I listen to.
Yeah.
And most of the musicians, they listen to the first thing they'll think, what's their instrument doing, right? And then they'll think of the arrangement or maybe the production value of the song, right? Is there a lot of reverb on the vocal? So we're really looking at it in that way. Music is never just there, but music is everywhere in our society today, right? You can't go anywhere without hearing it, and it's just supposed to be there. But for musicians, it never is. So, getting on a bike, I know a lot of guys that ride motorcycles and they listen to music and all that. I don't never do that.
Oh, you don't listen to music as you ride?
No, the last thing I want to do is listen to music and be on a motorcycle. For one, I think it would make danger for me. It would be danger, yeah. So I don't do it, but the point is to get away from. So I don't think about anything but
that's pretty cool.
Being on the bike.
I absolutely love it, and that's what I thought he was going to say. Actually, that there was a silence and a departure that you needed. Yeah, that was necessary to your own way of being.
I let go of my ego as well.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a certain amount of ego to play music because people are looking at you. You're on stage. You have to bring it, right? But I don't have any ego about a motorcycle.
That classic book. What is it? Zen in the Art of Motorcycle
Not
Maintenance.
yet. I haven't got to that one yet.
Yeah. It's an older book.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's like a go-to.
It's a classic, and it was out in I don't know. It's an old book.
How would you know about it?
I read it in when I was in my 20s. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's on my list of books to get to, but it's a large list.
Yeah.
So.
And I had a couple of boyfriends that had at least 2 long-term boyfriends that had bikes.
Have you ever had a motorcycle?
No, I just rode on the back.
You rode on the back of them? Did you like it?
I loved it.
What's it like riding on the back?
Amazing. Yeah.
It's fun to be
especially if you trust the driver.
Yeah,
the rider. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Well, then you get a half-hour hug the whole time.
Oh
right?
yeah, totally romantic.
It's a whole hugging thing,
exhilarating,
right?
adrenaline. Yeah, no.
And then you
totally.
get off, and you're like, oh
yeah.
That's cool.
It's good foreplay.
All right, okay. All right, handle your business. Okay. Maybe I gotta look into getting a motorcycle. Right. Which one do you say I read?
A Ducati with a
vibrates.
Oh, Harley.
Those will vibrate you real well.
That's a little.
That's rough. That's a little rough. That's
Yeah.
too much. Now, do you like noisy bikes? The guys who really go out of their way to make that shit as loud as possible, like a Harley.
I'll admit, there's something fun about revving that engine and hearing that pipe screech. But no, I keep my exhaust.
I just like
stock.
it better like that.
I don't put any. What do they call them? Aftermarket exhausts or anything like that. Yeah.
Right.
No.
Well, I'm glad. So your neighbor's not upset with you?
No. I've never. I got 3 motorcycles.
You got 3 motorcycles?
3, and nobody's complained about me.
You have 3 motorcycles, but 1 drum kit?
No. I have like 5 drum kits.
Yeah, well, I remember. How did the story go? It was years ago. God, man, I can't. We were in the club, and how did the story go? I don't know if you remember what I'm about to say, but somebody got, either you got or somebody got a set of drums from a great musician, and it ended up you were connected to it. They either got your set. Or is that not sounding familiar to you at all?
Oh wait, I sold. I sold a drum kit to. He was like a firefighter, and he played semi-pro, and I think he ended up in your club. It was a cool green sparkle.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know how your name came up or something. They saw you were playing or something like that, and then maybe you came in with your trio or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
do remember that now.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, because he lived over this way, and I was selling one of the kits. The There's a Yamaha. It was a very pretty kit. It was like the kit that got the most attention from people about the way it looked, because it was just a really beautiful looking kit. But yeah, I do remember that now. And I sold it to this guy, and I think he ended up playing the impulse room with
I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
I said for a second, I was thinking, dude, you're tripping. Okay, you're tripping. He doesn't remember anything but that. That's the sativa.
But yeah, no, I think I'll keep the more drum kits than motorcycles, equation.
Yeah.
So, what brought you out here to California? Just curious.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I played 10 years in the Midwest,
Yeah.
and the Midwest is great if you want stability and you're not that ambitious. It's a great place to be. But I looked at the musicians that were 10 years older than me, and I realized that nothing was really going to change there for me. And I started playing, Latin music, Caribbean music, Cuban music, Puerto Rican music. That's became my love, and there just isn't a whole lot of that. When I was in Cincinnati, that was in the 90s, there was like 1.7% of Hispanic, and so there just wasn't a lot of opportunity. We had to create the opportunities, and you want to find out if you're good or not. I was like immediately became the #1 drummer for Latin music in Cincinnati because there was nobody else.
What is your background?
The background is
your family. I mean, your nationality.
I'm a European mutt.
Yeah.
Okay.
German.
That's
Jewish.
Why when you started playing Latin, when you played that tune, I was like, oh no, I'm like, oh, he's Latin. Because honestly, it was that authentic.
Just studied the hell.
I'm from the East Coast, and I am Puerto Rican.
Oh, you are? Right?
Yeah. And so...
I love your culture.
Yeah. So, I immediately was like, what the hell? Because it was so real,
Oh, that's cool. That means I've done my job. Yeah, I
and I was like, Andres,
20 years.
He could be Spanish. He could be a Spaniard.
Well, here's the thing. So, when the last name is what we've been told is German.
Okay.
All right, but there are and in Cincinnati and Ohio they pronounce it Andress.
Okay.
Like Ursula Andress, but she has 2 S's.
All right.
But one of my family members, I never met him, but they put together this what do you call it? Roots family tree.
Yeah.
That started with the original 2 Germans. That was a husband and wife that came over in the late 1800s, sometime after the Civil War, but I don't know exactly the year. I don't remember. And there are no. Anders is not a German name, but we're from what's that area? Alsace-Lorraine, which is the French-German border, which for decades, if not hundreds of years, was constantly being fought over who controls it.
Exactly.
So it's really a hodgepodge of culture there. So it could be that, or we think Enders is a super common German name. It's like Smith.
So it could have been changed.
And so they could have shown up at the Ellis Island or whatever, and they said, our last name is Enders, and the guy wrote Andres.
Yeah.
Because that's how he heard it, and that was their name.
And I look at it and I think Andres.
Yeah.
Andres is how my relatives out here pronounce it.
Yeah.
And it's just so,
It feels very Latin to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it
would be Andres,
right?
Right. And they would, some people write my name with the accent over the E, and I'm like, no, it's not that. Yeah. It's just, I have family over here that's all, on the West Coast pronounce it Andres because it's just so easier.
Yeah.
When I first moved to the Bay, I would go to a restaurant, or whatever. I'd be like, table for 2, Andres, and it would come back Anderson, Andrews. It was like never Andres.
That was pretty funny.
So I was just like, I'm just going to do
it started with an A.
California
It must be me.
Yeah, it was weird. Andres is so uncommon out here that nobody.
Yeah, I think it is an uncommon.
So I just say Andres, but it's there's no.
Afro-Caribbean.
Afro-Caribbean. No. It's
because, Hispanic is all races, obviously it's a mixture of race.
For sure.
If race is even a thing, which it's not, but it's okay. Yeah, it's
Creole,
cool.
Yeah. But no, what brought me to Latin music is...
Yeah, thank you.
playing in the Midwest. There's a small city called Dayton, Ohio, and for some reason Dayton loves live music. I don't know if it's still the way it is, but in the 90s when I was playing there, they had an entertainment district that was maybe 3 blocks long. There was just club after club after club, and they were smart. They used to stagger the starting and ending times. One would go 9 to 1, 9:30 to 1:30, 10 to 2. So you could walk down and always hear music, and it was great for the musicians because when we would have a break, we could walk down, and we knew we could catch friends playing. Well, at the end of the block, there was like, I don't know, it was like a Polish American community center or something. And they had a private party going on, and so a friend of mine, we were on a gig, we had a break, we walked down, and you get to know all the bouncers and all that, and we walked down to this community center, and we saw a bouncer we knew. We said, oh, let's go in and see what's going on here. He let us in, and it was a salsa band from Cleveland, which has a pretty large Puerto Rican population. They came down because there was nobody in Dayton to hire. So it was like, I don't even know what the event was. I don't know if it was a graduation, if it was a birthday, I don't know what it was. But when that band started playing, it changed the course of my life.
Did it?
Yeah,
like what happened? Like what?
It's like, I related to kissing a girl for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just knew I wanted to do it for the rest of my life.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, there was life before this experience, and then there was life after it. And my trajectory changed. I was, thinking I was going to be a jazz drummer and try to go to New York and make that scene. And then as soon as I heard that band, it was like I got to get more into that. Yeah. So that's when my
it resonated completely with you. It was like it woke you up. It woke up something inside of you. That
well,
was
the music community thanks you. Somebody had to fill that void.
It was a great study. I look back at that fondly. That was 1995, I think. And then I spent the next 3 years. We put a band together, started playing the music, and then I was like, hey, I got to get out to a coast to answer your original question. I didn't want to stay in the Midwest where I knew everything would be the same. So all the great players, in San Francisco, LA, New York, great. That's where all the great Latin players were. Right. And so I was like, well, let me go check out the Bay Area.
So it's like they have a lifestyle. Not a lifestyle. It's just a separation.
So what you're saying is it would be like having a doctor family member, and they come home, and then the other family members are like, "Hey, Bill, what is this over here?" He's like, "You make an appointment. I keep that shit at work."
I suppose there's a lot of that too, but it's like, those, whether it's even a doctor or a nurse or whatever. Yeah. All the things that they do aside from work are what they would call their life.
Sure.
And it's most of those people, that's just a job, and that's not making a negative comment.
No,
it's just totally different.
Right. And I love that you're making that distinction, because that is actually just another way of looking at being an artist. Yeah. You're an artist, and whether you're a musician, you paint, you're a writer, or whatever it is, it's a different way of being, because you are. Your life is the whole gamut. Yeah, it's everything. It's what you do.
Anybody that
are.
does it. That's how they.
Yeah, it's your
they look at life through that lens of that artist. Exactly. I don't think most people who have jobs are looking. Construction workers don't look through the world
of
through construction. It's like they put that aside, even if they're great at it and they're highly skilled. And I still think they, when they go home.
That's beautiful.
Something else is there for them.
Yeah, I'm having sort of an epiphany with that, because it's more of a unified approach to life. It's like it's a wholeness that you bring to life when you're a creative or an artist, and there are risks involved, right?
Oh, there's immense amount of risk. Yeah.
It is the road less traveled.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The risks are the stress. It's a road less traveled, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I write a lot about that, how courageous it is to be an artist or a musician in this world that says, don't. You know what I mean? Your and luckily you had parents that emulated that path to a degree. Right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I grew up they were professional. Like I said, I learned how to be a professional from my father. But I wouldn't call my father, his life,
an artist,
because it was it was career, it was life, it was like what he did. But he didn't do a lot. It was just gigs, gig after gig after gig, right? And he was a union contractor for a while in Cincinnati. So he never can. He I think he suppressed art in his like expressing art is a personal thing, and he was just doing these gigs.
I see.
So, and the same thing with my mom. My mom did all these gigs, and it was just like, and she did teaching, and they both did private teaching as well. So it took me a long time to embrace the word artist. You know?
I kind of felt energy from you when I said that word. Yeah. But
yeah.
anyway,
People. If people would ask me the first 20 years of my career, like, what's your goal? And I would be like, just to pay my bills playing the drums. And that's still very much a part of what my answer is. But at some point, I did learn to embrace the word artist.
Yeah, good.
And that's when I started doing my own recordings and like, well, I want to try to say something. You know, and I embrace that word artist.
I love that.
Because a lot of times you do get a lot of pushback from artists, from people that don't understand it.
Oh.
Not from other artists, but from the word artist.
Oh yeah, totally.
I remember dating a girl once, and her father was like, "Well, what do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I play music and I teach." He was, "Well, what do you really do?"
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a real thing.
That's not a legitimate.
No, I'm a musician. I'm an artist.
And that's.
I feel like that should be so. You should be so proud to say that. Like especially now.
Well, they want stability.
No, I get it. No,
like
I do get that.
Yeah. It's.
But I feel like in a world that has a higher level of awareness, that artist is really a very courageous thing to do.
Yeah, I think so. And it doesn't have to be something that even somebody does as a living. It's totally fine to just be an artist whenever you can be, in whatever manner you can be. And I think we need more of that.
Absolutely.
But having said that, I do separate those that make a living doing it from those that you kind of play around with.
As a hobby of...
I don't... Not in a negatively way, but I think there's, like you said, there's an amazing amount of courage
and dedication,
sacrifice and dedication involved in
when you're all
faith
in,
and effort.
When you're all in,
you're all in.
You're all
like
in.
you, Peter. You're a great example of that.
Well, thank you, and you know, it's not about me, but thank you so much. So let's do this with we've got about 15 minutes left. The Brian Andres Trio. Obviously, you play with world-class musicians. You're part of, the scene all over the world. But, one of your, and I don't want to speak for you, correct me where I'm wrong, but one of your main things, and I would imagine one of the things you're most proud of, is your own band. Right? Yeah. The Brian Andres Trio, which, by the way, is a cat lover. Well, you come in with quartet. It's whatever it's trio. Whatever he gets at the time. Quintet. Okay, well,
what's your budget?
Yeah. Okay. Well, and you've also, you also...
What is it? Two Black Cats, or what is it?
Well, I don't know. How many cats do you have?
Gatos?
I have two.
You have two. They're both black. And most of the time they're on... I can't remember a time where they're not. In some picture.
When I make a flyer, I
Who did the art?
It wasn't subconscious. I just I wanted
that became a thing.
And then it became a thing, and I'm like, okay, people will know when they see a black cat or any cat on my flyer.
That's your
that's
logo.
My gig.
Yeah.
And I
Who did
totally
the art?
embrace that.
Well, they're different
Did
pictures,
you do the...
right?
I take pictures. They're just photographs.
Oh, so that picture that's on the front of your website, I think it's pink and black or whatever. Maybe it was advertising your album that came out.
Oh yeah, the latest album I have is the quartet album, and that's called Dos Gatos Negros.
Oh, okay,
which I wrote and named after the two cats I live with. But the guy that did the artwork...
He lives with them.
They're like roommates.
They're roommates, I hate the terminology.
That's fun. That's pretty good.
I hate the owning. I don't like it when people refer to pets as like, I own this.
Right.
You live with. I love it.
I don't dig it.
You are so
That's pretty
cool.
good.
You are so cool.
That's pretty good.
But Javier, my good friend Javier Cabanillas was the one that designed the album cover.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So that was a true... I'm like, no, that was real art.
Yeah.
Okay.
He puts
really
he's got a
adorable.
great eye. He's got a great eye for that.
Really
stuff.
adorable.
He's done so many
Inspired
album covers.
Javier is great. Let's give him a little love because that's how I first met you, actually, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
And you came in the club where you came in with
Kabaddi Jazz Project.
Kabaddi Jazz Project.
Yeah.
And it's usually like an 8-piece band or
Yeah,
something in that
yeah,
neighborhood. And that's where I met Brian, and then Brian would subsequently come in with his different versions of his group and stuff, which is
Man,
always
you've had
awesome. He'd always sell out the place,
Yeah.
Brian would,
Yeah.
you know. But at what point were you like, I want to start my own thing, whatever, whether it's a quartet or a trio? At what point did you say, I'm going to be a leader?
2007. That's when
all specific.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the year. That was like, 2 years into motorcycling, so I had kind of refreshed myself with the career because I had this thing now that I could go do.
Yeah.
So the idea came to me to put a record together. I didn't really think I was going to put a band together that was going to be working. I just wanted to make an album. And I had a concept to record only songs and tunes that were written by drummers
Oh, wow.
and percussionists. So
Ooh, I like that.
yeah, so I put out that album, and then I had to have a name, so came up with the Afro-Cuban Jazz Cartel
I love
name
it.
because I wanted it to be like a collective and cartel, but it wasn't really a mafia thing. It was more like
Right.
the true definition of cartel is
Exactly.
people work together in business for one common goal, and that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I wanted the band to be. And then it was like, we had the record out, and then I'm like, maybe we should do some gigs.
Yeah.
Just kind of built from there.
Yeah.
So I did that 3 albums with the large group, and then it just got too hard to book that large band.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so much easier. And then the things that I was gravitating towards in my listening was smaller ensembles, and then going back to like the word artist and what does that mean to me, and how do I be more of an artist meant more self-expression, which meant a smaller amount of people.
Right. There's more freedom out of it.
Exactly, more freedom to
move.
for my
Because there's only
artistry.
3 instruments, so you
Yeah.
get to breathe, yeah.
Right.
So I went from this 3 percussion where I'm basically just being a supporting role to like just me, no percussion, piano, bass to trio, just
Sounds
like
good.
stripped down, and now you're like 1/3 of the sound.
Right.
And so that was
You probably felt like you could breathe.
Yeah.
A deep
breathe
breath.
and really embrace that word artist. You
Yeah.
know? So that's kind of where I've been at lately.
Very cool. I like it. It's a good evolution. Yeah, and a good expansion. Yeah. And I love that you played, that you've played, and I'm sure you play all kinds of music like you mentioned, but Afro-Caribbean and jazz and Cuban,
that's really the thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the history of it. Puerto Rican and Cuban musicians hanging out in New York with Black American jazz musicians, and they created the greatest music in the world.
Yeah, I
Yes,
agree.
you know.
I agree.
Doesn't get any better.
Well, they like to dance. People like to dance. They get up, and
It's not
everybody
only that,
reminds
it's
me
the
all the
sound.
time.
It's
Brian
everything.
Andres here doing dance.
It's
It is
Eddie
so-
Palmieri, the great Puerto
Oh,
Rican
my father
piano
used to
player.
listen to him all day long.
La
Tito
perfecta
Fuente.
combinación, the perfect combination of
Do you speak Spanish?
very little.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, it sounds like it would come out.
It's gone downhill.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to use it.
you got to, and to be honest with you, you got to be in a relationship. If
With
you're
this-
not a native speaker,
Yeah.
you got to be in a relationship.
Oh, because they
with
just
somebody.
drill it into you all the
Yeah,
time.
because they're like willing to be like top baby.
Yeah.
At one point, you're gonna sound like a child the way you talk.
Or like you're stupid or something.
Yeah, exactly. And your cats on the
I'm
gig.
retarded.
Yeah, right.
Cats on the gig don't want to sit there correcting you.
Yeah, right.
But the lady would.
Yeah.
More.
I've told you 100 times, but here's 101. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, my Spanish was really good at one point because I was dating a girl from San Diego, but she was from Mexico.
Yeah.
My Spanish was definitely better then, but yeah. And then Kenya's, she speaks Portuguese,
Does she?
which is like Spanish with marbles in your mouth.
Did she try to teach you any of that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, there's.
You can go to a restaurant and order something?
No.
Is she
Don't do
from?
that.
Is she from Brazil?
Her mother's from Brazil. She's
Okay.
half Brazilian.
I do love Brazilian music, bossa nova, and oh god, I love that sound
it's
too.
beautiful.
Oh my
Beautiful.
god.
She's an awesome
So
person.
romantic.
Let's give her a little bit of
So that's your
yeah,
that's your girlfriend
Yeah.
or your wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Partner, we like to use.
Okay, yeah, partner's
Okay,
cool.
and she's awesome.
Is she a musician as well?
She sings.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
She
She's
cool.
quite the singer.
So that
Yeah,
that is a
she sings
musician.
bossa novas.
Her voice is her
Oh,
yeah.
her instrument.
Yeah, she's.
She sings bossa nova.
She sings bossa nova. That's
Ah.
pretty much it. She's
I'm gonna check her out. Where can I check her out?
The next gig for her, I believe, is the Albany Juneteenth Festival, which is actually next Saturday.
Yeah, that's Juneteenth.
And isn't she on the board of what is the festival?
Oh, she's on so many boards. She's on the she's the secretary of the San Francisco chapter of the Recording Academy.
Oh, wow.
She was the governor, one of the governors. Now she's the secretary, which is like the person right below the vice president, right? And she's on the board of Living Jazz, the organization Living Jazz is a great organization in Oakland.
What's the festival that's up? Is it up north or something? At the outdoor festival, I think she's been involved with over the years.
Stern Grove?
Stern Grove.
Yeah, she was working for Stern Grove for a while. I don't remember what her official title was. I think she did education. So she was the one responsible for, like, when you would show up, like, they didn't have anything for kids, so she created a kid zone there where they have people like puppets, master, I don't know all they go on, but she created that. So I'm not sure what her title was there, but yeah, she worked for Stern Grove, and she has her own music marketing company.
Very cool.
And
they make a good couple, huh?
Both I was just gonna say,
feeding off each other.
How good is it, like, living with another artist and being in partnership with another artist?
But you know, my best relationships have always come from people that were creative, because it's really hard if I was dating like it happens, because we talk about Javier's married to an accountant, and Margarita.
It can work.
It works.
Love
but
can work. Yeah.
You have to really be understanding, and Kenya gets it, because she grew up. She was a professional dancer. She danced with Alvin Ailey in early 2000s.
I love dance,
and
I love all the arts.
so she's lived the artist life.
Yeah.
So she gets it when I'm I have to go to this interview, and I won't be home until whatever. She gets it.
I used to think that opposites attract, and I think there are cases where it still does, but it is so much better when you do have
particularly
an understanding.
Yeah,
you can appreciate.
When you're creative, you have to understand the life, because we don't live a 9-to-5 life.
Yeah.
We don't. It's like it's not that at all.
And sharing the ride with somebody's kind of neat, as you guys. Because how long has it been now?
Oh, like 9 years.
Okay.
9 years.
And so to watch each other grow and accomplish things together, it's kind of a neat thing, right?
It's teamwork.
Yeah.
Support me, support her, and then we get to perform together occasionally, so that's even better.
I know what she's going to ask. What are you going to ask next?
No,
With our 5 minutes. Come on now. Where did you meet?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, well, we met on a gig, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a great Afro-Venezuelan funk band, so they hired me to bring the funk, because I didn't know anything about
Bring the funk
folkloric Venezuelan music at the time. I've learned a lot since then, but and then she was there to sing, background. She was a background singer, and the thing is, they fired us.
Why?
They fired us because they didn't think that the dynamic of having people in a relationship in the band would work.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's so archaic. You in a relationship? You were just friends first?
Yeah. We're doing gigs and,
getting to know each other?
Yeah. I mean, but, it's the thing.
I'm always, surprised by that, because I'm like, I feel like I always know. But, I don't think that's true the same.
Love at first sight kind of thing?
No, not love at first sight, but that I'm interested.
Well, it was mostly my fault. I had come out of a relationship.
Kenya, you're hearing right here.
Yeah, I had come out of a relationship. The last thing I wanted to do was be in another one.
Oh, so you weren't ready.
So I was definitely not ready to be like, let's do this.
Right.
So it developed naturally, but it wasn't like... Yeah, and then, when you meet on a gig, you show up, you rehearse, you do the gig. It's business, so it's not a lot of time. It took a while for us finally, hey, let's go have coffee. And I think that's the first thing we did, and then we talked for a little bit.
All right. And the rest is history.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's a very natural way to unfold a relationship, and probably healthier. Yeah.
I think so.
Let me ask you a question. Kenya is super sweet. She got 2 butterfly paintings from me.
Yeah.
One of the paintings is actually Flight to Kenya. I named it with her name in there. It's kind of like an African
Nice.
safari scene. It's a butterfly button.
So she's been to the Backyard Improv.
No, she's
never been, actually.
I don't understand why she's never
She's
been.
always got something going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, there you go.
You
That's
guys
the
are
answer.
here.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll say, well, Brian Kenny or something like that,
Yeah.
you know, but I get it. She's got stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got one time, you have a drum painting from me.
I do. We have 3 of your paintings.
Are they up?
Oh yeah, I got my painting. The drum painting is in where I teach.
Okay. Oh, really?
So the students.
Okay.
That's, I
so it's
use
not
it.
back of the closet
No,
next to the
of course
old
not. It's
musty
Why do you
clothes.
think your paintings are in the closet?
My students.
People buy a painting, or you're giving a painting to someone in your.
My students have to look at it when they are in my lesson. It's like I use it for inspiration, artistic
Very nice.
Oh,
inspiration.
okay. See, there
And
you
the
go.
ones she have,
Do you have a
they're on her
picture?
wall right
Yeah.
now as we speak. Right?
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
So what? So why does she like butterflies? Or what was the butterfly in?
I don't know if she was it that she.
Liked
You-
butterflies. It was just
Yeah,
you
I
liked
don't
the
I don't know.
painting.
They're
I
just
don't
2
remember.
butterfly paintings. She
Okay.
liked
Yeah.
them for whatever reason. Yeah.
So it's not like she's got
Butterflies are
butterflies
cool.
all over the
Oh.
place.
I
I think
You
the
never
painting.
know.
If there was,
You
they would
never
be
know.
living with the butterfly,
Yes, they'd be
right?
living
would,
with the
as a
butterflies.
roommate.
I think I just spoke to her. You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
yeah,
see
yeah,
her.
no, yeah, you don't know
It's
what
like,
you.
that one
Well,
was
you
a-
know, to answer your question, is that have you ever been given a Christmas gift or some birthday present or something?
Yeah,
you
someone
always
just
have to act excited, right? You can't be like, thanks. You'd be like, oh, thanks a lot. That's cool. But then you actually put on that sweater and then wear it, or you know what I mean? Like, there are times you do, but you get what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah,
that's really
yeah.
cool, but at some point in time, I'll re-gift that shit or whatever. Let's put that in the re-gift closet thing. So
We don't have time, but I have a whole story about
You do?
commissioning a painting.
okay, well, I'll tell
And
you what.
then
Oh, we don't have time.
reneging on it,
And
and
reneging.
how I regret it every single day. Yeah. So
Can you say it in 3 minutes?
no, I just
Oh, okay.
commissioned a painting for. We opened our high-end audio. Me and a friend, business partner, opened the high-end audio store in Jack London Square. It's called Heart Song Audio, and we bought a painting. We commissioned it for the front room, for the front listening room, and so for the grand opening of the store, we had him bring the painting. And I walked in, and it was a huge painting. I mean, honestly, I don't know, 6 feet by whatever. And I didn't even see it because it's not what I expected. So I literally did not see the painting,
Okay.
you know? And anyway, so he said, his name is Tim Mooney. I love you, Tim. He's an amazing artist. And I regret every minute of not buying that painting. But anyway, so we commissioned him for it. We had a particular idea. It was a twilight scene over Lake Merritt that I loved seeing from my friend's business place that he had. Anyway, nonetheless, he did it, and it was nothing like I had imagined. And so I was like, I'm not a faker. You know, I didn't say I didn't like it because I loved it. It wasn't what I had wanted. And he goes, you don't like it? And I said, no, I do like it. I just didn't imagine it this way. And he said, you know what? I want you to like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, all right, let me talk to whomever, whatever.
Right.
It happened to be somebody offered to buy the painting for
Yeah.
twice as much
I know how
as
it
we
goes,
commissioned it
Yeah.
for. So he asked me, someone's offering to buy this.
Right.
And I said, go for it.
Right.
But I think about it every single day. Every day.
Hey.
I miss it all
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
I've had that
so,
happen a lot.
meaning that a gift, you never know. You're
Right.
like, yeah, what that gift is for. Yeah, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times people are like, well, let me sit on it for a week, or, let me think about it for a couple of days. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
There's no around that. I mean, this
Yeah.
happens.
So someone gives you a
dozens of
gift,
times.
it's like, let
Yeah.
me accept this.
Yeah.
All right, as we wrap this up, again, Brian, man, thank you for all that you do for this Bay Area scene. I mean it really. I really do. It is
Yeah.
an absolute treat every time you come. I know it's going to be different every time you come. I had a special treat this last one. You're always happy. Whenever I see you, you're always happy. But I looked over at you this last couple. It's a motorcycle.
That's the meditation.
But there was quite a few songs I looked over and you were smiling. There was a song called "Coffee in Paris" that was a real chill song, and a lady's buying the painting there because she loved the painting "Coffee in Paris."
I love that
loved
painting.
the song that you guys did.
I know
that
exactly
matched.
what the painting is. I
Okay,
remember it.
but during that song, you were looking over at the guys or whatnot, and I don't know why, but you were happy and you were smiling, and that happened a number of times. So it's a pleasure that you find pleasure in what you're doing, not just with my scene, but just, the world is a better place because Brian Andres is in here and doing the thing with the drums for us. So,
Likewise.
Thanks, bro.
I almost feel like we didn't do Brian justice in some ways because of how talented he is. And when I saw your website and I listened to some of your music and everything, by the way, your website is wonderful. Did you write? Did you do all the writing, or did your Kenya, she's a good writer. She's a good writer. Yeah. So few musicians or artists' websites are.
She built the whole thing.
She was very impressed.
Yeah, I was like, I loved it because I write about artists, and it's hard sometimes to get the information that I need or to get a real good idea. So it's beautifully representative of you and the music and everything that I got to hear, and I would love people to know more about you and know your music, because you're that talented. So I'm saying that to encourage people to go out and.
So how do people find you?
Yeah, exactly.
Website, social media,
And what is the
website's brianandres.com. The Instagram, Brian Andres Music. I think my Facebook is Brian Andres Music.
A very accessible guy. You're going to get back to people.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and a last question.
Yeah, I was just saying earlier that on our pre-show that every musician that we interview, and this is 22, because this is a relatively new podcast. I'm so astounded by the depth and the talent that is in the artists that you bring from the Backyard Improv, because basically this is for those artists.
Yeah.
And I interview artists outside of this as well, but I just want to really honor that artist in you and how talented and unique your art is. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing it and making that choice.
Thank you, brother. This is the last question, so this final stays right there. But one thing I forgot to ask him, and I can't let him go.
Okay.
We've asked everybody this as they come here, and the answers vary. Every one of them is different. Do you ever listen to your own stuff?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
When you go to the Backyard Improv, or even your own music when you're playing in a club, but me, kind of especially because I'm sitting there really. There's some of the people who say like, well, I don't listen to it at all. I need a day or two to compress. Other people are like, I listen to it right away. Do you listen to your own stuff?
In regards to the Backyard?
Well, or your.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm making recordings, I have to listen to it just to.
Right.
But then, pretty much once it's over, I let that go. But yeah, I do check out the videos because there's, like I said, there's moments, and I'm like, I want to know. If I hear that moment as a listener, if it's the same, if it's resonating the same as when I was playing it. Mm-hmm. So I will search for those spots.
Mm-hmm. And does it usually end up?
Sometimes it's better, and sometimes that's not quite as good. It vacillates. But most of the time, I'm like, oh yeah, it was right on.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah. Well, because we've had Jason Stewart, we've had some other people who are like, no, I would be overcritical of myself, and
the critic that lives inside the artist.
That's the thing about your gig, man. Mm-hmm. I don't try to be critical when it's happening. That's the cool thing about it. It's just like. Nobody put any pre-work into it, and so it's that moment.
That's what happens.
That's the moment. And I allow that. I think that's
cool.
That's like I wouldn't want to be critical of it.
Nice.
Why?
He's got that. I like his.
I do love the way he thinks. I really do. Yeah. I really appreciate that vibe.
Thanks for
coming here. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thank you.